asking people to come off benefits and go into work, and yet Rachel Reeves came up with a budget in the autumn which has absolutely clobbered businesses. Businesses are now saying we're reluctant to hire because we're paying far too much in national insurance contributions. So you're trying to get people into work, but you're not facilitating businesses to hire them. You're clobbering business.
Well, we've increased national insurance contributions that employers have to make. That is true. But we've seen from the jobs figures over the last quarter a growth of nearly 200,000 new additional jobs in the labour market here in the UK. That is a good thing. And the important thing for younger people who are out of work and being stuck on universal credit, not being able to get into work, is that we need to help them to be able to get better if they're sick. Often that's about access to mental health services. But also we need to make sure that they've got access to the training and skills that they need to have to get into work. That's why we've announced today, for example, our construction package. We think we can get 60,000 additional jobs in engineering, bricklaying, electrical. And
this is definitely not the best time to be a Labour supporter, as it is becoming increasingly difficult to defend most of the party's most obnoxious policies. In a shocking twist of events, popular TV host Camilla Tominey tore into Labour's Treasury Chief Secretary Darren Jones for being blissfully unaware or pretending to be of the tax tsunami his government is rolling out.
Why do you think that a millionaire is leaving the UK every 45 minutes now? And that's a figure that's been derived since Rachel Reeves' budget. Why are so many millionaires leaving if she's doing such a good job?
Well, I'm not one, so you might have to ask them. But I think what you're alluding to is our policy.
You take the taxes of millionaires, so you should be able to comment.
Which, well, the non-dom tax changes were in our manifesto. It's what we were elected on with a mandate to implement. And it starts with, I think, the pretty fair principle that if you want to live in the UK, you should pay your taxes in the UK like everybody else. That wasn't the case under the Conservatives. We made that very clear in the election campaign that we would change that. We have done that in line with our election mandate and our manifesto.
Is it a successful policy if it drives millionaires out of the country that do pay their taxes?
I think the principle is the right one, which is that if you want to live in the UK, you need to pay taxes in the UK like everybody else.
Yes.
It all started when Chancellor Rachel Reeves claimed she's got the automakers' backs while cozying up to a global trade disaster. Then there's Darren Jones, stepping out like a budget spokesperson trying to explain away the 1% GDP hit, heading straight for the UK like it's just a mild breeze. As the show became more heated, Tominey challenged the government's decision to proceed with a tax hike, despite economic pressures on UK businesses.
Just had the impact assessment has just dropped. Now, the average loss for someone on the personal independence payment is £4,500 a year. That's significant, Darren.
I think so I've not seen the impact assessment because, as you say, it's just been published, but my understanding is what the impact assessment doesn't account for is the benefit that you get from our additional money into support for training, skills or work. So take for example, if I said to my kids, I'm going to cut your pocket money by £10 a week, but you have to go and get a Saturday job, the impact assessment on that basis would say that my kids were down £10, irrespective of how much money they get from their Saturday job. So the impact assessment.
Let me just put it. All right, let me put it a different way. Do you think that is a significant drop in the average amount someone will be able to get on PIP or not? £4,500 a year.
The key word there is average. I'm very conscious of the fact that there will be people at home who do receive PIP who I don't want to be unduly worried by an average figure. The key point is.
But the biggest talking point, or when the Labour MP began to unravel, was when the rate of employer national insurance contributions was revealed by Tominey, which increased by 1.2 percentage points, rising from 13.8% to 15%. Additionally, she revealed that the earnings threshold at which employers start making these payments has been significantly lowered from £9,100 sterling 0 pence. Fuming at the Labour MP, she said, "So, if the world has changed, then surely it's a good idea to scrap the increase to employers' national insurance."
You mentioned Rachel Reeves there, and you said earlier in our conversation that everything had been properly registered. It hasn't, has it? Because Rachel Reeves registered a £7,500 donation from a woman called Juliet Rosenfield, which went towards her wardrobe as office expenses. what you wear to work isn't an office expense, is it?
It was declared in line with the rules. What Rachel and others have said is that in future they won't be taking such donations.
But hang on a minute. Sorry, is clothing an office expense? Because if I put in my self-employee tax return and I put these dresses in as an office expense, I think I would rightly face an audit by HMRC. The Chancellor is in charge of the Treasury and oversees HMRC. So why is this regarded as being properly registered? It's not an office expense.
It was properly registered in the register
of members. Are dresses an office expense?
It was registered. The donation, all of the donations that the Chancellor received were declared in the proper way.
Is clothing an office?
We've got businesses on their knees. We've got Richard Walker, who was literally a poster boy for Labour's election campaign. He's the CEO of Iceland, saying that basically you're robbing businesses blind. We're not a piggy bank for Labour. He says we've got the growth forecast down. Of course, Jones replied. So, the Prime Minister is going to say more this coming week about what further support we have for businesses. Then he began the usual Labour spin, claiming that the important thing here is that Labour's plan for change.
Not one person has come forward who runs a small or medium-sized business to say they've been positively affected by the budget. We've spoken to people in hospitality, we've spoken to people in retail, we had 2 hairdressers in last week. They've been absolutely clobbered. So I don't know, what business owners are you speaking to? Because we haven't spoken to anybody who has this narrative that everything's great with business in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, and look, we want to go further and faster on the economy. We recognise we need to get more growth into the economy and to help businesses to do that. But as you would expect, we talk to businesses of all sizes, big companies, like I said, in the construction industry, all the way through to SME and startup builders who we want to support to be able to get houses built in this country. And, you know, it's worth remembering that in the budget, the national insurance changes for employers was designed in a way to protect smaller businesses. It's right to say that 50% of businesses in this country will either be paying the same as or less than they did before, because we took that step to try to protect small.
According to Jones, these steps the government is taking will create a stronger and more resilient economy than ever. It's now true on global trade, and that's why we have to go further and faster into investing in the economy and supporting businesses. You see, there's nothing new, just the same tired waffle and PR freshly spin. On one hand, Reeves is out here confidently claiming every UK household will be £500 sterling, 0 pence better off, even after inflation. What a lovely fantasy that. But on the other hand, the risk of another inflation spike is lurking in the UK.
As wages across the piece growing as fast as they have in 3 years. We know that the UK is now, according to PwC, the second best investment location in the world.
Okay, but what about these figures? Why is manufacturing down? Why are prices up? And why has employment fallen? And why are millionaires leaving the country every 45 minutes? I know you want to pick your own figures, but these figures suggest that the budget's gone really badly wrong.
What the budget did was reset the public finances, but what those headlines say to me,
suggest that they haven't reset the public finances, they've made them worse.
What the headlines say to me is that we need to go further and faster in boosting economic growth, and that is why we're so determined to make these changes to planning, to all of the things that get in the way of growth, because we know that the way to get out of the situation we're in is to get the economy growing.
And yet, Rachel Reeves wants to be known as the Iron Chancellor. Is that credible? I mean, she's making comparisons between herself and Margaret Thatcher.
I think the comparison that you're alluding to is about some of the difficult decisions that Rachel has taken since taking...
Overall, it is clear that Labour has no clue on how to navigate the current crisis or the possibility of another one, and Tomini is not allowing them to get away with their perceived lack of knowledge. As the interview continued, the TV host asked a loaded question. So, if the world has changed, then surely, particularly to scrap the increase to employers' national insurance?
Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Minister. Obviously, Donald Trump's tariffs have rather kiboshed the spring statement. We've now got David Miles of the OBR suggesting it's going to knock off between 0.6 and 1% from GDP. So the Chancellor can't possibly still be stating that we're going to be £500 better off, can she?
Good morning, Camilla. Great to be back on the show. I mean, look, the spring statement was a broad set of economic forecasts about the future, and of course, if the world changes, those forecasts will change when they're published again at the budget. But the important thing here is that our plan for change, which is the steps that we're taking as a government to create a stronger and more resilient economy, are now more important than ever. As the Prime Minister said this morning, the world has changed. We knew that already on security and defence. It's now true on global trade, and that's why we have to go further and faster into investing in the economy and support.
It wasn't just a question, but a straight dagger at the heart of the issue. That question echoed what thousands of families are going through at the hands of Labour austerity measures. No wonder Richard Walker, who ironically switched to Labour due to Starmer's great leadership, has officially scared loud and clear, saying he's not Labour's personal piggy bank. Can you blame him? He is probably tired of being rattled for spare change every time the government's coffers look a bit peckish.
Slashed the growth forecast from 2 to 1%. You can say you inherited a bad economic legacy. But equally, there are many people that think people think that you've made it worse. You've made a bad inheritance worse.
26. No, the numbers aren't true. You need to look at the forecast period, the 5-year period.
With the tariffs.
You're talking about year 2025.
Are you saying that the OBR's forecast from last week,
as it was for every country across the G7, and then if you look at 26, 27, 27, 28, 29, 30, the OBR forecast growth up, and they were very clear that that was as a direct consequence of the decisions that we are taking as a government. And we're going to continue to go further and faster on that, but in partnership with businesses to get the economy in the strongest possible position.
Are you seriously suggesting that the OBR's growth forecasts that were in the spring statement still apply in a post-tariff world where the OBR itself has said that it's going to shave up to 1% off our GDP? Those growth forecasts aren't worth anything anymore, are they?
But the Labour Treasury didn't want to acknowledge the host's question or line of thought. Instead, he pivoted towards the usual Labour talking point, claiming that the party's economic policies have helped us get a grip of the public finances, which are in a mess that we inherited from the Conservatives. This again? Sometimes you wonder if they take a class on how to bullshit the voters. In case no one told the MP, it is either he's blissfully clueless or he is playing the same old script from every time, because from where we're standing, that help feels a lot more like a kick in the teeth with a polite smile and a tax bill stapled to it. It is time Labour realised that all the public is asking for now is, let this administration please sit down with them. Please sit down and let us explain what it is they are doing and how it has affected ordinary citizens. But Tomine wasn't done. She revealed a shocking detail. You've lost £1 billion already from 45,000 people leaving employment in the last 5 years. What are you going to do? I really honestly don't know. What? It's the truth. And no wonder British businesses are buckling under the weight of Rachel Reeves's policies. Reeves' national insurance hike has all the grace of a bull in a china shop, only this bull slaps you with a 15% charge on the way out just for the audacity of employing people. It's like Labour's version of a welcome mat. Come in, invest, and by the way, hand over your wallet. And for those who don't know the depth of Reeves' economic policies and their negative impact, you can get a clear picture by listening to this. Reed CO Co., which is a recruitment firm that represents 254 companies, which in turn represent 260 employees, told the Mail on Sunday that nearly half of all their companies are cutting recruitment. So, Labour's trying to get people off benefits and into work. But businesses are saying they're either letting people go or freezing recruitment. Therefore, the biggest question for Labour and their MPs is, in what way does this promote growth and support business? It is classic Labour sleight of hand, isn't it? They're the Houdinis of hypocrisy, vanishing public trust faster than jobs since that budget landed with all the subtlety of a wrecking ball. Yet they still wear that trust me badge like it isn't dangling off a clown suit. Frankly, many people didn't expect the national insurance to the Labour's latest assault on the British. Most likely were widely expecting something on minimum wage or something on business rates, but national insurance caught most of us, especially those in the hospitality industry, a little bit blindsided. But obnoxious politicians like Darren Jones still act as if this is all just a bad dream. But out here in reality, businesses are folding, jobs are vanishing, and Labour's response is to gaslight the nation with a straight face. A classic playbook that says, it's not us, it's the Tories, or maybe the weather. Now, Jones and other Labour members claim to be working with businesses to cushion the effects of the national insurance rise. However, they are obviously not working with care homes. Aki Care England, the body representing care homes, is now suing the government over the rise in national insurance. So Labour, in their wisdom, hasn't exempted care homes despite this huge bed-blocking situation we've got in hospitals. Nurseries are now in crisis, but they haven't been exempted from the national insurance rise either. So why is Labour penalising the most vulnerable members of society? I mean, elderly people kept in care homes and children in nurseries. How do you expect these already hard-pressed organisations to stump up thousands of pounds more in their bills?
Treasury analysis has shown that if we'd had growth at the average rate of the OECD countries over the past 14 years, we would have had a much larger economy and over £50 billion more revenue available in the exchequer to pay for public services. And that's just to illustrate the case that if the economy is actually in a position of strength and growth, you can create the money that makes it easier to be able to fix public services. But because of our history being in recession or bumping along the bottom, it's made it very, very difficult at this point in time.
Yeah, the public would say, cry me a river. What are you going to do about it?
Well, we're going to stimulate growth in the economy and get public finances back on a secure footing. Chancellor will be setting out further detail later in her speech.
Now, that's the irony in it. Darren Jones out here talking like he's getting fan mail from the British public, while in reality folks are lighting metaphorical torches and sharpening pitchforks and care homes suing the government. You couldn't script it better. The very institutions keeping the elderly afloat are now having to fight back against Labour's economic blunders. We can't wait to see how this drama unfolds in the coming days, weeks and months. If you enjoyed this political firestorm, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating content.